On Larry King Now, actor, director Edward Norton.
Sometimes you can distill more truth out of the essence of things than getting hung up on this is a true story. I think when you say this is a true story, you have to be absolutely
Agreed.
True to the facts.
Plus,
our culture celebrates people for the wrong reasons, and we don't celebrate the people who deserve it enough. Firemen and policemen and teachers and scientists. We should elevate those people to the heroic status they truly deserve.
All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. My guest today is Oscar-nominated actor Edward Norton. Edward is known for his many roles in some great films, including American History X, which earned him an Oscar nomination, and the cult classic Fight Club. He's currently starring in Motherless Brooklyn, a film he also directed and wrote. It is currently in theaters, mass showing, right?
All over the country.
Okay, what attracted, it was a book, right?
It was a book, a terrific novel by Jonathan Lethem, who was a great Brooklyn writer. Born and raised, called Motherless Brooklyn.
What attracted you to it?
The character is instantly a classic. He really, by the end of page one, you're completely hooked.
True.
He's a detective, but he's not really the Robert Mitchum, Humphrey Bogart model of a detective. He works for a detective who's like that. He's kind of the junior associate detective because he has Tourette syndrome and obsessive compulsive disorder that make navigating the world in a smooth way pretty difficult for him. But he has a very sharp mind and kind of a photographic memory, and so he has a role in the operation.
I saw the film and loved it. It's a great. You ought to be very proud.
Thank you.
How did you get someone like Bruce Willis to take a part that runs about 3 minutes?
He's in there the first 20.
Yeah.
But in the book, the private eye that my character Lionel works for, he's the coolest guy in the room. He's the guy that everybody looks up to.
Bobby Cannavale.
Yeah, the big brother, all these things. And who is that more than Bruce Willis, right? To me, Bruce is like the older brother that everybody wishes they had. And guys want to be like him. He's cryptic, he's funny, he's mysterious, he's cool. And so, the movie begins with these two kind of low-rent, flat-foot operatives who work for him, and Bruce comes around the corner, and you go, there's the private eye. So
Bobby Cannavale is terrific.
Bobby Cannavale. I came up in New York with Bobby in the New York theater. He's one of my favorite actors, my generation. He's by turns funny and very intense, and and he's just terrific in the film. Yeah.
Of course, you got Alec Baldwin to. Actually, it's Robert Moses, but you gave him the first name Moses, right?
Yeah, Moses Randolph in the film he's kind of the Darth Vader of the piece. The real Robert Moses was very much, as we were talking about, he was kind of the Darth Vader of New York in the mid-century. He really was, and I say Darth Vader because he was like a Jedi Knight. He had incredible powers, and he was very idealistic. But he ultimately went to the dark side and used his powers in kind of terrible ways.
But you don't bill this as a true movie.
No, because obviously we got a Tourettic detective, we got murders, we got the insinuation of very dark deeds, and sometimes I think when you think about many of our great films like Citizen Kane or it's about William Randolph Hearst, but it's not. It's Charles Foster Kane for a reason, because sometimes you can distill more truth out of the essence of things than getting hung up on this is a true story. I think when you say this is a true story, you have to be absolutely true to the facts. And if you're going to make stuff up, you should.
Your character has Tourette syndrome.
Yeah.
Did you observe people with Tourette syndrome, or was it your imagination?
No. There's Oliver Sacks, who I think you interviewed back in the day, who wrote The Doctor. He has a great piece of writing on Tourette's. There's some very good documentaries, and I met people. And the most interesting thing is that in each person, it's very different. Some people
curse.
Some have the most extreme thing, which is saying very inappropriate things or curse words. some people have vocal tics that aren't about being offensive or anything. They're just compulsive, and some people have physical twitches. So, the blend of it is different in every single individual. And I took little pieces that I liked from different people that I saw in films or met. And what's interesting too is many people describe gifts. There are gifts within it. There are you know, like my character in the film, he has this affinity for music. When he's listening to the jazz, it triggers his Tourette's in ways that are creative and kind of wonderful.
Was it difficult to play?
The research is always fun. Getting it to the place where you're not thinking about it, you're just doing it. That's the work of
artists.
Yeah, that's the work, is getting it into yourself, into the instrument of your body.
Is it hard to direct yourself?
Yes, well, let me put it this way. I take notes from myself pretty well, but I find that if you and I are acting together in a film, we help each other with our concentration against all the distraction, the lights and everything. But if I'm also the director and I'm jumping out of that, that's what I was worried about, was the impact on my fellow actors. But if you get great actors, if you get stage-trained actors like the ones we've talked about, plus Cherry Jones, the great Broadway actress, Alec Baldwin, who is a great comedian and a great satirical performer, but he's also a great dramatic actor, you know. And when I was coming up, Alec was doing Streetcar Named Desire on Broadway and just killing it, and or Glengarry Glen Ross, you know. That Alec, that dark, and he reminds me of, in this film, he kind of reminds me of Lee J. Cobb. Remember from
sure.
12 Angry Men.
Cobb would have played
on
it.
the waterfront. Yeah, I think so, and he's got that heft of an old world power boss.
You didn't go into this field for its celebrity. Would you call yourself an anti-celebrity?
You know, there are things that come with it. There are things that come with being known that you can turn into a positive. I think a lot about the inspiration of like Paul Newman and what he was able to do with Newman's Own and his famous face, and turning it into hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars raised for charitable causes. I think my friend Leonardo DiCaprio, who's leveraged his celebrity into his passion for the environment and been a major, major advocate, along with me and Mark Ruffalo and others, for environmental conservation. And I think it can come with lots that's just silly, and there's a lot of things. Our culture celebrates people for the wrong reasons, and we don't celebrate the people who deserve it enough. Firemen and policemen and teachers and scientists. We should elevate those people to the heroic status they truly deserve. But it doesn't mean that you can't do some good things with being well known. I think you can.
When we come back, Edward Norton on getting his start. It's all next on Larry King Now. The film is Motherless Brooklyn. The film is fantastic. The star, the writer, director is Edward Norton, and he's with us on Larry King Now. Did you want to be an actor when you were a kid?
I did, yeah, I did. I don't think I thought of it in those days as, you know, a career or a life. I didn't have like but I just loved doing it. I liked making little movies with my friends. And
was Yale famous for its drama school?
It was, but I didn't go to the drama. I got a degree in history, which in some ways came back around into this film, because my interest in Robert Moses and New York in the 50s and what happened, things like why did the Dodgers leave, that was more the historian side of me, and I wanted to turn that into some kind of a story, you know.
What was your break?
Well, Primal Fear, for sure. That was one of those things nobody could say they planned. It was just a great opportunity, great people, and fortunately the movie worked. You know, if that movie hadn't worked, we might not have been sitting here.
Do you like the very multitude of roles you play?
Well,
you're not typecast.
No, and I like that. That is nice for me, because I think there's really two kinds of actors, and I don't mean good and bad. I mean, you know, there's some actors who are very iconic. We like to see them again and again in the same kind of thing.
They don't die.
And no, and they're outstanding, terrific. Harrison Ford is a terrific actor. I mean, but Harrison, you don't look to Harrison to sort of disappear into the role. You like those qualities of Harrison that you see, consistently. And I think. Then I think there are shapeshifters. There's people like Dustin and Daniel Day-Lewis and others who I think really do transform themselves. And I think those are it's two slightly different kind of species.
Have your goals changed over the years?
No, I think my goals are the same. Within film, my favorite thing is to do things that I feel resonate somehow in the times we're living in. I like when people look at a thing and it echoes in them, as opposed to, let's call it, pure entertainment. I enjoy vegging out like everybody else, but I think maybe sometimes we give each other junk food and Xanax a little too much. You know what I mean? And I think things that provoke the mind, activate the mind in an audience, force people to ask questions. Like you were saying, why not make it true? And the thing is, I think and I know, but a lot of people don't know that those things really happened in New York. And if people leave this movie and they go, is that true? Did they really lower the bridges too low for public buses to keep Black and Latino people away from beaches? That can't be true. That's activation. That's the activation of interest. And I like that. Same at Chinatown. Think about Chinatown. They don't talk about William Mulholland. They turn him into Hollis Mulwray. It's a dream version of all that. But when we saw Chinatown, everybody went, is that what did LA steal its water? Is LA built on the theft of water? And it was. And it tickled. When your brain gets tickled and you have a romantic experience of going into a time like the 50s and hearing the music and seeing the acting. That's all great. That's sort of what movies do, the magic of movies. They carry you back. But if they also tickle at the brain and make you wonder about the dark stories that might be under the American story, that's a good thing.
Why haven't you done more comedies? We were in the same movie, The Dictator. Sacha Baron Cohen.
That's right. We've acted together, Larry. I wouldn't have thought it.
Oh, we've acted together.
I've done, the first film I directed, Keeping the Faith, was a rabbi priest joke.
That was a good film.
Yeah, and it was fun.
What do you like about directing? Control?
It's control. It's also, I'll tell you, one of my favorite things is that when you direct, you get to ring up the people that you like their work and say, come play with me. You know what I mean? As an actor, you're sort of a piece of, you're part of the crew, you're part of the machinery of it. When you're directing, you're the captain, and you do get to pick your own, lineup, you know what I mean? And I don't mean like just cast. Like obviously I called in all my favorite actors on this. But I love being able, on the music on this, it's the 50s. I wanted to do, a great jazz soundtrack and score. And I get to ring up Wynton Marsalis and say, help me make this music, or Tom York from Radiohead. And they say yes and come and play with me on my film. And I end up with I'm going to say one of the best movie scores in a long, long time in this film, written by Daniel Pemberton and Wynton Marsalis. And Wynton's playing on this film is absolutely just off the chart.
Next, we get Edward's take on the current political situation in America. Plus, we get to know him better in a round of If You Only Knew. Stay right there. My guest, one of my favorite people and one of the more talented, Edward Norton, his new film, Motherless Brooklyn. You will thoroughly enjoy this movie. I put my stamp of approval.
Can I ask you one question about it?
Yeah.
Where were you in New York in the 50s?
I sure was.
Were you working there then?
I started in 57.
Wow.
But I was a kid.
That's the year of this movie.
That's
1957. Right. Did we get it right?
Oh, you got it right.
The cars looked right?
I kept the cars, everything.
The clothes, the music?
About the clothes, the music. And I kept thinking, Robert Moses, why did we hate him? We hated him. Even as kids, there's something about him. He ran the city.
Yeah.
He ran the city.
Yeah, he was the power boss of all power bosses.
You once said, participate quietly in politics, saying it could lead to casual commentary about important issues, so you don't get involved.
Oh, no, I get involved. No, I get very involved. I just think there's sort of two things. One is I do think, we were talking about celebrity. I always love what Marlon Brando said, which is he said, I started realizing how crazy it was that everybody was asking my opinion on every subject, and that it was even crazier that I was answering. You know what I mean? I just think you got to be a little bit careful in this world now, especially where they take everything you say, turn it into a little soundbite, and then manipulate it. You know, the chances to have these kinds of conversations, substantial conversations, are more and more rare. And I think you have to, I think you have to be disciplined about sort of what Bob Dylan said: know your song well before you start singing. Like, don't just blather on about things that you haven't really educated yourself on. But there are things that I have educated myself on, and I'm certainly not gonna. No actor, an actor isn't any different from anyone else. I'm a citizen just like you, and just like a school teacher, and just like a banker. I don't have any more or less right to an opinion, but we all need to participate. You know what I mean? This idea that, like, oh, you know, you're an actor, I don't have to listen to you. I'm not trying to get you to listen to me. I'm just saying that, like anybody else, I think it's important for us to engage in the issues in the time we're in. And for instance, I think the climate crisis is an existential crisis that we're facing. I think
Al Gore says it's already over.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, I have little kids, so I care about that. I think we have to raise consciousness about that, and I don't think it's that I'm a special voice, but I don't think I should be a silent voice. I think people need to contribute their voices and vote their votes if we want to change our our bad habits.
We do a little segment here called "If You Only Knew." Guilty pleasure.
Vanilla latte.
Really? Yeah. Director you'd love to work with.
Francis Coppola.
Actor you'd love to direct.
Sean Penn.
Strangest fan encounter.
That's an interesting one. Well, someone walked up to me on the street the other day and gave me a signed photograph of Jim Palmer and Earl Weaver together.
I knew them both very well.
And they didn't say anything to me about it, but they must have known. Like, that was my youth. Jim Palmer,
the Baltimore.
Oh yeah, Baltimore Orioles.
What's happened to that franchise?
I know. It's too painful, Larry. I can't talk about it. I don't want to tear up on your show.
Secret talent.
I can remember music really, really well, yeah.
Who would you trade places with for a day?
Kelly Slater.
Trapped on a desert island, what 3 things do you take with you?
A sat phone, my surfboard, and some zinc for my nose because I'm Irish, and you know.
Yeah. Something you wish you were better at?
Surfing.
Something you long believed to be true and then realized wasn't?
That I was going to be a pro surfer.
Really?
No, I didn't long believe that to be true. I just long hoped it would be true.
What should we be paying more attention to?
Our global climate crisis.
Why have we not?
I think, honestly, I think that corporate interest and short-term bottom line thinkers have obfuscated this issue purposefully. In a lot of ways, it's what my film is about. It's very dangerous when what's really going on is being hidden from us, and we damage gets done when people are doing things, rigging the game, and I think we have had the wool pulled over our eyes intentionally by a lot of people who didn't want to confront the carbon.
I could say there's probably nothing more important.
I agree.
If you give up on that, where you going with it? But I'm a little disturbed that Al Gore thinks it's already lost.
Me too. I don't want to hear that from Al.
You don't think it's lost?
A lot of things have happened at such speed that you couldn't. It has to be acknowledged that we have come up with technologies and solutions and ideas that would have seemed like a fantasy only a decade before, but when they're implemented and they roll out, we can't really see as well around the corner as we think we can. And we do have a remarkable capacity. The human species has a pretty amazing capacity to be inventive and innovate. And
so you've not lost hope?
No, I haven't lost hope.
We'll come back with some social media questions. For Edward Norton, the film is Motherless Brooklyn. If you don't love this film, you passed away. We'll be right back. My guest is Edward Norton. The film is Motherless Brooklyn. It's terrific. We have some social media questions. Bryson Knox on Facebook. After playing Bruce Banner in The Incredible Hulk, would you return to the Marvel Universe in the future?
Yeah, why not? I mean...
Did you have fun with that?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I never made a movie like that. I worked on the script and I...
Were you surprised they cast you?
No, I was a good fit for Bruce Banner. So's Mark Ruffalo. He's fantastic. He's like, I mean, Mark and I came up together in New York. He's like one of the best, and people always try to like create fake arguments and stuff, but like, it's like doing Hamlet. The Hulk, it's like Bill Bixby was great, Eric Bana was great, I Hope I Was Good, Mark's great. I think it's just one of those things like a lot of great actors are going to get to do.
Mark Morgenstern on Facebook. Would you take a really interesting independent film? Would you take a cut in salary?
Oh my God, I did it on my own film. I got scale on Motherless Brooklyn. That's it. And by the way, so did all the others. Bruce Willis and Alec Baldwin and Willem Dafoe. Everybody did the movie for me for no money so that I could get it done. The cast of this movie got this movie made for me.
Wow.
And yeah, no, it was one of the greatest compliments of my career that everybody said, we know this isn't for money. But I've done every movie I've ever done with Wes Anderson. Nobody's, it's for like SAG Weekly.
Motherless Brooklyn, if it goes through the roof and makes a ton of money, are these actors going to ask?
Yeah, of course, yeah. No, everybody's cut in. That's what we did. We all agreed, like, we're in on it together.
Facebook from Kyle Kelly. What's the one role you regret turning down?
I don't think I have one of those. I don't think I ever. The ones I turned down, usually I did because I didn't think I was the best person, and then I would see the person who ended up in it and say, I was right, they're better.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. If I think I know what to do with it, then I don't really turn it down. Sometimes I look at a thing and I think that I'm not the best one for this. I'll tell you an example. My friend Bennett Miller is one of the best filmmakers of my generation. He made Capote, Moneyball, Foxcatcher, and basically the best documentary I've ever seen about New York called The Cruise. Anyway, he wanted to do Foxcatcher. When he was doing Foxcatcher about the brothers on the wrestling team, he talked to me about the one that Mark Ruffalo played, the brother, Dave. And I said to him, I was like, I'm not right for this part, like, even slightly. And Mark was like an all-state wrestler and looks like the guy. Like, when I watched the film, I was like, Mark was so much better than I could have ever been in that part. Like, Bennett was wrong and I was right.
And he's become a major actor now.
Mark, he's one of the absolute best.
JMJNT on Twitter. Is there a performance you're particularly proud of or feel is, in your interpretation, an example of really great acting? Well, was there a role where you said, yes?
The funny thing is I feel that way about this film. I mean, I think this is about as deep as I've gone on anything, and by that I don't mean just as an actor. It consumed me. This was a big swing for me. I was inspired by, in my life, I remember asking Warren Beatty about Reds, which everybody told Warren, nobody wants to see a 3-hour movie about socialists, and he said, I do, and he made that film, and that's one of the great films of that decade. Like, that is
absolutely.
It is an absolute masterpiece of a film, and he wrote it and produced it and directed it and acted in it. And when I would see things like that, or Spike Lee doing Do the Right Thing, like this kid making a movie about his own neighborhood, he's in it, he wrote it, he directed it. Sometimes you go, wow, like that's inspiring, and I felt like I want to try to take a big swing like that, and that's what this was for me.
You hit it out of the park.
Thanks. That means a lot coming from you.
Hope the Orioles get better.
Yeah. I'll be your age by the time that happens.
Thanks to my guest, Edward Norton, for joining me today. Make sure to see him in Motherless Brooklyn. He stars in it, directed, and wrote it. It's currently in theaters. And, as always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. See you next time.